Ever felt like the darkness of the open road was hiding more than just shadows? Like the faint hum of your engine was harmonizing with a silent chorus of whispers from the beyond? Out there, on those asphalt veins stretching across the country, there are stories. Stories whispered by truckers in lonely diners, stories shared around flickering campfires, stories that make you question if you're really alone on that seemingly endless highway. Tonight, we delve into the unsettling world of highway horror. 3 terrifying tales ripped from the pages of real-life encounters that'll make you think twice before your next road trip. Buckle up, because these stories are a one-way ticket straight into the heart of unsettling mystery. Picture this. It's a bone-chilling night in rural Pennsylvania. Rain is lashing down, wind is howling like a banshee, and a lone trucker named Frank is battling his way through the storm. Visibility is next to nothing, but then, through the sheets of rain, he sees her. A lone figure, standing by the side of the road, desperately waving for help. Now, Frank, he's a kind soul, always willing to lend a hand, especially to someone who looks like they need it. He pulls over, and as the figure steps into the dim glow of his headlights, he sees it's a young woman, drenched to the bone, her face a mask of fear. She practically throws herself into the truck, her voice trembling as she thanks him. She tells him her car broke down a few miles back, near Blackwood Bridge, says she's been stranded there for hours. Frank, being the good Samaritan he is, offers to take her to the nearest town, a good hour's drive away. She hesitates for a moment, then nods, her eyes wide with a strange mix of relief and something else in her, something Frank can't quite place. The drive is tense. The woman is quiet, clutching a worn leather bag on her lap. She doesn't offer much about herself, and Frank, sensing her distress, decides not to pry. He tries to make small talk, to lighten the mood, but her responses are short, almost distant. It's like her mind is a million miles away. Finally, they reach the outskirts of the town. As Frank pulls up to a well-lit gas station, he turns to the woman, about to tell her they've made it, but the words die in his throat. The passenger seat is empty. There's no sign of the woman, no bag, nothing. It's as if she vanished into thin air. Frank, thinking he's losing his mind, searches the truck. He checks under the seats, behind the dashboard, even in the sleeper compartment. Nothing. It's like she never existed. He steps out into the cold night air, scanning the gas station, the deserted street. There's no trace of her. Shaken to his core, Frank decides to report the incident to the police. He tells them about the woman, the bridge, the vanishing act. The officer listens patiently, a strange look flickering across his face. When Frank's finished, the officer tells him a story, a local legend. Blackwood Bridge, he explains, has a tragic history. Years ago, a young bride-to-be was killed in a car accident on that very bridge. They say her spirit, unable to find peace, roams the road, seeking a ride from unsuspecting travelers. Frank scoffs, dismissing it as a spooky tale. But then the officer tells him something that chills him to the bone. He says that those who encounter the vanishing bride often find something left behind. Wet footprints on the floor of their vehicle, a chilling reminder of the ghostly hitchhiker. Frank hesitates, then slowly walks back to his truck. He opens the passenger door and stares down at the floor mat. There, clear as day, are a pair of wet footprints. Our next story takes us to the desolate stretches of Jarl Highway in New Mexico, a place where the air hangs heavy with mystery and the silence of the desert can be deafening. It's here, on this lonely ribbon of asphalt, that a young couple, Sarah and David, had an encounter they would never forget. They were driving back from a weekend getaway, the setting sun painting the sky in hues of orange and purple. The highway was deserted, the only sound the low hum of their car engine. As darkness fell, a sense of unease crept over them. The vast emptiness of the desert seemed to press in, making the world feel smaller, more vulnerable. That's when they saw it. In the rearview mirror, a pair of headlights appeared, growing rapidly closer. The truck, a massive 18-wheeler, was gaining on them fast, its headlights blinding in their intensity. David, a little unnerved, sped up, but the truck kept pace, its engine roaring like a beast. The truck rode their tails so close they could practically feel its heat. Sarah, her heart pounding in her chest, glanced back. The truck had no markings, no identifying features, just a dark, hulking silhouette against the bright headlights. It felt wrong. David, trying to shake off the unnerving pursuer, swerved onto a narrow side road, the car bumping along the uneven terrain. He held his breath, praying they'd lost the truck. But when he dared to look in the rearview mirror, his blood ran cold. The truck, its headlights blazing, had followed them onto the side road. They were trapped, the relentless truck bearing down on them. David pushed the car to its limits, the engine screaming in protest, but the truck kept coming, closer, closer. Just when it seemed like the truck would ram them off the road, it suddenly veered away, disappearing into the night as quickly as it had appeared. Shaken and terrified, Sarah and David continued driving until they reached a small all-night diner. They stumbled inside, desperate for a stiff drink and a break from the nightmare they had just experienced. As they sat there, recounting their encounter to the diner owner, a grizzled old man with knowing eyes, he just nodded. He told them about the legend of the ghost truck of Jal Highway, a phantom truck that terrorizes travelers, chasing them down with its blinding lights and deafening engine. He said it was a harbinger of bad luck, a warning to turn back or face the consequences. Sarah and David, shaken but safe, decided to stay the night in the nearby motel, too shaken to continue their journey. The next morning, as they prepared to leave, they noticed something strange. On the trunk of their car, long, deep scratches ran the length of the vehicle. It was as if something or someone had tried to claw its way inside. Our final story takes us to the winding roads of the California coast, where a group of friends on a road trip vanished without a trace, their disappearance shrouded in an eerie silence. It all began with a simple plan. A group of 5 college friends decided to embark on a road trip along the Pacific Coast Highway, their car packed with camping gear, surfboards, and youthful optimism. They set off with high spirits, the wind in their hair and the open road beckoning them forward. They documented their journey with photos and videos, their laughter echoing through the California sunshine. For the first few days, everything went according to plan. They explored hidden coves, shared stories around campfires, and filled their social media feeds with sun-drenched beaches and smiling faces. Then the updates stopped. Days turned into weeks, and still there was no sign of the missing friends. Their families, frantic with worry, contacted the authorities. But despite extensive searches, the group seemed to have vanished. The mystery of their disappearance deepened with each passing day, leaving unanswered questions and shattered hopes. The families clung to hope, but as time wore on, the silence became deafening. The case grew cold. Then, 5 years later, a park ranger patrolling Redwood National Park stumbled upon a car hidden in the dense undergrowth. The car, covered in moss and leaves, was eerily familiar. It was the same make and model as the one the missing friends had been driving. As he peered through the dust-covered windows, he saw personal belongings scattered inside. Backpacks, clothes, a half-eaten bag of chips. It was as if the car had been abandoned in a hurry, its occupants vanishing without a trace. The discovery of the car reignited the investigation, but it also deepened the mystery. The last phone call from one of the missing friends, a garbled message left on a family member's voicemail, took on a sinister new meaning. "We're still on the road," the voice on the recording whispered, a hint of fear creeping in. "But it's endless. There's nothing here, just the road." So, the next time you find yourself cruising down a desolate highway, the silence broken only by the hum of your engine and the distant call of the night, remember these stories. Remember the phantom hitchhiker, the ghostly truck, and the vanishing convoy. Because out there, in the darkness that hugs the edges of our maps, the line between reality and nightmare can blur. And you never know what lurks just beyond the reach of your headlights, waiting for its next victim. Which of these stories will haunt your next road trip? Let me know in the comments below. And if you have your own eerie encounter to share, don't hesitate. The open road holds many secrets, and some are best shared under the cover of darkness. Safe travels, everyone.